Welcome to School's Out 80s Comedy Story Time.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of School's Out 80s Comedy Storytime. Got a really special guest for us today, a very dear friend of mine coming to us all the way from Dallas, Texas. Dale Holting, say hello to everybody at School's Out 80s.
Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? I'm here
Awesome.
about a
Man,
mile down
uh,
the road from John.
I know you're a stone's throw away. If I was a good golfer, I could hit your house with the golf ball.
That's
And I'm
true.
not a good golfer, so I can't hit your house with the golf ball. But somebody could. Hey, Dale, this show, it's all about the 80s. I know you and I are both, grew up in the 80s, really. And we have great stories from high school. So thinking back to high school, can you share with us just like a funny story that maybe happened in the 80s in high school for you?
Yeah, I just have to think about part of that.
No worries. Will it help if I kick off one of mine and maybe you can parlay off of it?
Sure, that would be great. That would be great.
Okay, well, I pretty much grew up in the country. And what I mean by that, like if you drove in four directions, you pretty much hit cornfield. And if you got on the highway, you went from a minor city to a small town to a small town to a small town to a small town. You never seemed to ever get to a major city unless you went the other direction from my town. You hit Kansas City, which was a major town. But getting back to the farm, surrounded by farm fields, when we needed a place to go out and party, we went to a four corner intersection called Riverside Road in my hometown. A plethora of, multiple cases of beer was had. Lots of good old fashioned rock and roll was played. And man, some of the best times of my life, Dale.
Yeah, we had definitely similar experiences. I grew up in a very small town. At the time that I was in high school, we were so small, we really didn't even have a local policeman, believe it or not. If there was ever any trouble, usually they called the county sheriff or unfortunately, the highway patrolman, the hypos, as we called them.
Okay.
So a lot of times we would just pull into a parking lot. Obviously, we drove around Main Street.
Uh-huh.
Didn't have to worry about too much about the police unless we got out of control. So
Right.
kind of a funny story because I know that my dad did the very same thing, and of course, it would be time to leave or time for the night. We'd go somewhere. And I just remember one night he goes, "Well, do you need to borrow my cooler for tonight?" Obviously he knew what we were up to. Of course,
Sure.
I had older brothers that, if I couldn't buy beer, they were willing to buy it for me sometimes. But I was a fairly tall guy in high school, and the funny story is, and this is kind of relate the story to you. Where
Yeah.
I grew up, it was all German Catholic.
Nice.
And, there was roughly one church, Catholic church, but there's roughly 300 people in town. There's probably 800 total when you count all the people out in the country.
Right.
I think we had 7 or 8 liquor stores in the bar for one little town.
Whoa.
But
800 people and you had 8. So you had enough vehicles for alcoholism, each 100 people could frequent those 8 different outlets for alcohol.
Yep, yep. I think we had 3 or 4 in town, and then some out near the county line. We were probably most of the counties were dry at that time.
Right.
Lubbock, and a lot of other places. But I do remember one guy. He pretty much would sell to anybody. So I think we were buying it at 14 or 15 years old. We'd buy the beer, and the ladies would get the Tickle Pink or the Mad Dog 2020. So
the tickle pink. I love it, man. So is that like Boone's Farm? Is that or Tickle Pink? Is that like Boone's Farm?
Yeah, kind of like Boone's Farm.
Okay.
Massive headache the next day. You know how that works.
Oh yeah.
But I just remembered the traditional thing after football season.
Yeah.
Always have a keg party.
Yes.
And so they would find somebody's place, and we'd basically get the keg, go down there, and then get our beer, drag around town several times. Of course, to say that nothing ever happened is I wouldn't be telling the truth.
Right.
So here, the popular thing to do would be to basically get in it's not road rage. What do you call it when you follow someone or try to outrun the other guy and chase them?
Oh, so you guys were drinking and drag racing? Kids, don't try this at home.
I know. Well, I wouldn't say we're high rate of speed, but basically, I just remember there was some girls in a car, and I don't know, we tried to get their attention. They took off driving, going around. Mind you, there's not a lot of people driving around town.
Sure, yeah, I bet.
We're going around, and they decided to make a right turn, and we didn't realize that the guy that was driving tried to make a right turn, didn't make it, and he skidded, and he ended up running into the wall of the local parts store. And
oh my God, no way.
And all of a sudden this was probably around midnight or later.
Yeah.
His front bumper goes into the side of that building, and of course the lights, there was a clock or something. You could see the lights flicker and the clock goes off. And it wasn't a glass window, but we quickly backed up, and I think the next day he went and told them what had happened. Obviously, he didn't want trouble with the police or anything.
Oh my gosh! So he kind of lost control of the vehicle, Dell, and went into the what would you call it? Like the true value of the day.
Yeah, local
like hardware store.
Yeah, and that parts store was owned by another Holting.
No! It was like an auto parts store.
Yes, an auto parts store. Yes. They did.
Oh my gosh!
And other things like that. So
yeah. Oh wow, that's a good one. Wow, nobody was hurt.
Nobody was hurt.
Oh, thank God.
And of course, the fun thing to do. Of course, we lived up in the Panhandle. We did get our share of snow.
Right.
What did you guys do when it snowed? What was the fun thing to do?
Oh, what'd we do?
Yeah.
Well, this is definitely something you don't want to try at home, but we used to like either put on our cowboy boots or some slick tennis shoes that didn't have any tread on them, and we would get on the bumpers of cars and go for like short periods of time, kind of like we were ice skating on the back of the car. And you kind of like grab the back of the bumper, and you kind of sit your butt down, and you spread your feet out like you're water skiing. Boy, that's dangerous. But then we got a little smarter maybe, and we started taking a ski rope and tying an inner tube on the back of the car with the ski rope. And we would hit parked cars with it, that were on the side of the road, but it was like snowing, and it was an inner tube. and we would hit the tires. It's going to sound a lot more dangerous than what it was. I mean, if you go to my hometown, I mean, it's like there's nothing going on. Like, it's not like, I mean, you could lay in the middle of a street for a while and there'd be no cars coming by. It's just like kind of, there's just not a lot going on back then.
Yeah, I've got a lot of stories like that. I just give a whole lot of people ideas.
Well, here, I got a story for you. So this happened when I was in sixth grade. So I was in sixth grade or seventh grade. So a buddy of mine calls me on the phone. I'm not going to mention any names. And he's like, hey, John, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just watching a TV show or whatever. He's like, are your parents home? And I'm like, no, my parents are out with friends or whatever. He's like, I'm going to come over. And I'm like, okay. I didn't think anything of it. I thought, like maybe he's going to ride his bicycle down from his house to me or whatever. No, he shows up in his grandfather's old time convertible called a Corvair.
Oh, yeah. Corvair.
Yes.
Corvair. So
yes,
it's my dad had a Corvair.
Okay.
Isn't it one with the engine in the back?
Yes. Lots of good stories about the engine in the back.
The trunk in the front. Yep.
Yes, the trunk in the front. So the great thing about a Corvair, since the engine was in the back and it was a stick shift, it meant that you could really maneuver it well in the snow.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I'm sitting there watching back in the day, probably HBO, and I get a knock on my door, and it's my buddy, and in the middle of my driveway, Dale, is his grandpa's Corvair. And you got to picture it. It's like yellow. I think it had a white top to it. And there's snow all over the ground and it's dark, right? I'm watching a movie. It's like a Saturday night. And my buddy wasn't that tall and I wasn't that tall either. I really think it was like in sixth grade. I think I was like 5'4". Like you're 6'4" now and I'm 6'2". So this was years ago. And he looks at me and he's like, John, you want to take a ride? I think we're like 14 years old. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I come out, I get in the passenger side, he gets in the driver's side. And then this is the funny part about Adele. I look at him, he puts on sunglasses. This is nighttime. And he's got on like I grew up, like you grew up around the Kansas or the Texas Rangers here in Dallas. Yep. So I grew up around the Kansas City Royals. He has on one of those souvenir Kansas City Royals plastic hats that you get when you go to the and sunglasses. Oh. And I think he's sitting on a pillow so that he can see over the dash. but yeah, we loved the Corvair. That was one of our cars of choice for hiding beer because the trunk was in the front. So any given event when we're doing our Riverside Road deal, you'd open up his trunk. There'd be a case of beer in there, a beer bong. And we used to carry, anytime we went out and about, all of our friends and everything, we used to carry what we called a drunk wrench. Are you familiar with what a drunk wrench is?
No.
Okay.
Not a church key. Okay.
Yeah, no. Well, we called it a drunk wrench, but basically a church key. Same concept, just a can opener so you could drink your beer faster.
Okay. Yes. Well, when it snowed, we'd go up.
Yeah.
We had a big parking lot that was next to the church. And we'd spin donuts when it was without snow, but we'd go in there and see how many times you could spin the car around, 360, 540, whatever.
Nice.
They're all real drives. So eventually they ended up putting speed bumps in the parking lot.
Okay.
Didn't want people to drive. That was a main hangout. And then they put a fence up on it. But speaking of borrowing either your mom or dad's car, so around Thanksgiving, around 4th of July, we all went and bought fireworks, and guess what we did? We had bottle rocket fights.
I like it. I like it.
So my second cousin borrows, everybody's my cousin back home, but borrows his mom's car, and we're going around and the windows down so we could shoot, bottle rockets everywhere. And he had a whole load of bottle rockets in the back up on top on the back seats. The sedans, they had the place you could put stuff.
Yes.
Someone shot a bottle rocket, landed right in the middle of those fireworks, and they caught on the other of them. They're going everywhere. And I'm like, how is he going to explain this to his mom when he gets back?
Oh, no. Man.
But man, there were people, those bottle rockets are on you had the small bottle rockets that were tiny, but then they had the big old rockets that shoot way up in the air, had the stick on them, about 18 inches long.
Roman candles?
Roman candles.
Oh, no. Yeah. You're talking about the actual rockets.
Rockets, yes.
Yes.
Someone aimed one of those and shot it at somebody's car, hit the side of it, put a little bit of dent.
Oh, no, dude.
But before that, of course, this was pre-high school. Maybe before I could drive, maybe I was a freshman in high school. So we thought, we're going to get in on this action. We lived in town. We were right next to one of the roads. So my brother and I rigged up this plate where we could shoot the bottle rockets at cars.
Sure.
And we had tried to time it. So one of them, we shoot this bottle rocket, and it pops perfectly right on the front windshield because it's coming toward us.
Nice.
The car all of a sudden goes real slow.
Right.
It's going slow. And then of course, we were at a dead end. He could have probably kept going. He turns, and we read Castro County Sheriff Department. I kid you.
Oh, man. You got shot a firework at a cop?
We didn't know it was a policeman.
Oh, my God. That's great.
Because we're sitting in the dark.
Did anybody go to jail?
No. He just kept going.
He didn't even care?
I guess not. Maybe he.
Oh, my God.
Maybe he didn't know where it was coming from, but yeah.
Man, that's awesome, dude.
Of course, the other thing we did was I had certain circle of friends. I had a lot of different groups. We were close to a lot of the people. I was close to a lot of different groups. And of course, one group, we always played our AC/DC, ZZ Top, Led Zeppelin. They were the heavy metal group. Then you had other people who listened to country. But we spent many a days or nights doing that. And then the fun thing to always do was to stay up at night and wait for the sun to come up. Did you ever do that? Spend all night uptown or out in the country and till the sun?
Not so much out in the country, but you did have your friends that would just look at you. You'd have them spend the night, and they'd be like, "Hey, let's stay up all night." That was never a good decision. That really screwed up your next day. Hey, Dale, real quick, is there anything you'd like to promote right now on your episode? I know you own your own business and you have a business.
Not anything that I can think of. I do civil engineering. We have a sand volleyball facility out in McKinney. Indoor, mainly indoor. We got 4 indoor courts. So
Do you want me to promote that? Because I can promote that like in the podcast. I can put it like in the the information and everything that I share with everybody.
That would be great.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and promote what I do. I am John the Sales Warrior Sansoni. I've been professionally selling successfully for 34 years. What can I teach you? How to prospect, present, follow up, and most importantly, how to close. I have a 3-day masterclass that includes inspiration, motivation, and the mental tools to succeed in business and sales. My course includes worksheets, audio, video, and can be taken in 30 action blocks. Also included, how to have greater confidence. My course should be $400. If you get it today, $99, and included my book for free. Once purchased, you'll get free monthly inspiration from me. Just go to saleswarriorinspire.com and order yours today. That's it. Back to the show. Wow, Dell, that was great to have you on Schools Out 80s. Man, we got to have you on again. Your stories are awesome. They're so similar to my stories. Man, you've been a great friend for so many years. I really appreciate you filling the gap because I had somebody flaky today. And man, I really appreciate you. The show must go on. It's called show business for a reason. It's not just called show. But hey, everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in to Schools Out 80s Comedy Story Time. And Dell coming to us all the way from Dallas, Texas.
Yes, I definitely enjoyed this. I have more stories to tell.
Oh, we're going to have you back on, Dell. We're definitely going to have you back on. And from John Sales Warrior, cheers, everybody.